Print, email, Facebook, Twitter. More analysis. Australia's big win puts Bert van Marwijk's plan on display and proves Socceroos are ready to execute. Media player, space to play, M to mute, left and right to seek, 00:2400:000:24 at the end of an afternoon that got progressively better for the Socceroos. Bert van Marwijk and his side would surely have been delighted they had received some reward for their hard work in Turkey and a timely boost of hope. A 4-0 win over the Czech Republic was more than most had hoped before kickoff, but even though in this case it was overwhelmingly positive, the result was always to be secondary in this game. There were lessons to be learned, theories to be tested and decisions to be aided. Headaches will remain, but some of the questions swirling in Van Marwijk's brain will have been clarified by a professional and impressive performance. Australia started like a team that had spent 2 weeks preparing to play France, and almost had to adjust to an opponent of lesser quality. The focus, as it has been in training, was keeping compact in midfield and solid in defense, even though it was clear early the Socceroos would have the potential to dominate the ball against a disappointing Czech side. Eventually, that realization filtered through the Socceroos team, and the midfield, surprisingly aggressive from the outset, with Aaron Moy, Massimo Luongo and Tom Rogic, a potentially damaging trio, started to take control. Reports from the training camp suggest Van Marwijk has been drilling his players in the art of the counter-attack, teaching them to not just blaze away with long balls but to play intelligent, early passes while getting enough runners up to support. The first and third goals were signs Van Marwijk and assistant Mark van Bommel's messages had been getting across. One of the most noticeable and encouraging elements of Australia's performance was the numbers it committed to transitional attack. The full-backs, Rogic and Luongo, all regularly joined in with a pacey front three when the Socceroos broke. This was always going to be a make-or-break factor for Van Marwijk's side. Any team, no matter how dysfunctional, can put 10 men behind the ball and hope for the best, but the difference between the team and the sorts which have found success from a pragmatic approach is the efficiency of those transitions. In Moy, Luongo and especially Rogic, Australia has midfielders capable of sparking those rapid breaks with splitting passes, and the width that Robbie Cruiser and Matt Leckie maintained ensured Australia always had space to operate in going forward, something that was often a problem under Ange Postecoglou. A large part of Australia's threat on the day was Andrew Nabout, who blew hot and cold but again showed his coach the attributes that looked like earning him a once unfathomable starting spot in Kazan. Nabout is playing out of position as a striker, and doesn't quite have the physical frame to play as a target man nor the know to hurt international opponents with his movement. But what he does have is pace and energy, enough to provide an outlet, force errors in defenders and bring teammates into the game higher up the field. He took his one chance quite brilliantly, was reward for effort, and further proof he does have other strings to his bow. It's true that his inclusion in the starting 11 would restrict the options the Socceroos have in possession, but that's not really a concern for Van Marwijk, who is deliberately setting his team up to play in a way that Nabout fits into quite nicely. Other stories emerge too, with Josh Risdon a man of the match candidate in a right-back position he may have just made his own. Daniel Arzani got himself a cap but had little time to show his immense talent, though it was noteworthy that, given the training reports of his occasional overindulgence, his first touch of the ball was a quick first-time pass to a teammate. Incredibly, there are also now questions over the captain's place in this team. Does Mile Jedinak remain an automatic selection given how effective the Moy Luongo Rogic axis seem to be? It may well prove that Van Marwijk still wants the defensive screen Jedinak provides, but the mobility of the midfield against the Czechs will have provided food for thought. Then what do we make of the players not afforded a run-out in this game? What does this omission mean? James Drosy, Josh Brillante, Maduan, James Meredith, Nikita Rukaviciu and Fran Karasik. And even though he may still be a special case, perhaps this suggests bad news on the horizon for Tim Cahill. But though the gaps in defense occasionally proved too wide, though it took 30 minutes for any sort of cohesive passing to begin to form, and though Australia has much harder tests on the horizon, It's simply impossible not to look at a 4-0 win 2 weeks out from the World Cup as a positive. Van Marwijk has given very little away since taking this job, but has stressed the importance of a few key things: a sturdy, resolute defense, effective and committed in transition and able to control tempo when the time is right among them. With that in mind, the Dutchman could afford himself a wry smile in the knowledge his message is getting across. Print, email, Facebook.